Let's turn now to the next level of the project framework, that of the purpose. We define the purpose as the outcome or result that flows from having successfully produced the outputs. The purpose should be directly attributable to the project, subject of course to the assumptions, and it should be capable of being measured at or about project completion. We say project completion because operational departments will need to prepare project and TA completion reports. So when you do so, you need to be able to make an assessment of the extent to which the purpose has been achieved or not. Here are some of the things you need to check when looking at the quality of purpose statements. First, is it a single succinct statement of a desired development end result? Is it clearly a logical and plausible outcome of having successfully produced the outputs? Thirdly, does it specify the nature of the improvement we expect over the baseline situation? And lastly, does the purpose statement represent a solution to a problem? Now, I said I was not going to talk about the process of preparing a project framework, but at this point I need to mention that a project framework should flow out of a process of analysis through using what we call the problem tree analysis, which is turned into an objectives tree. Now, the purpose should represent the solution to the development problem that we identified in our problem tree analysis. Therefore, anyone who reads a project framework, when they read the purpose, it should be quite clear what the problem is that this project was setting out to solve. And this is a good test of the quality of a project framework purpose statement. Now it's your turn to comment again. This purpose statement is drawn from a power sector transmission project in Indonesia. I'd like you to discuss this and come up with your observations. Here are my thoughts on this purpose statement. First of all, there are too many statements. We have 3 in this case. As I said before, we should ideally have a single succinct statement of project purpose so that there is complete clarity. I also notice that each statement starts with a verb, so this confuses the end result with the actions required to produce that result. The next observation that I have is that some things, such as a 150 kilovolt transmission line and new transmission lines to interconnect 2 transmission systems, are in fact outputs. They are things the project will deliver. The last point contains a number of project inputs, things like computer hardware and software. So this purpose statement is somewhat confused. It's mixing outputs, activities, and in some cases inputs. However, embedded within this is what I think may be the purpose, and that is where it talks about removal of supply bottlenecks in Java Bali. This is what I would want to discuss with the project team. Is that the purpose that you are seeking for this project? Here's a second purpose statement, this time from a project in the Philippines. I'd like you to discuss this and put forward your thoughts about it. My thoughts on this purpose statement are that, firstly, it is a single succinct statement of purpose, which is good. but it is a little bit confusing. It starts off with a verb to provide, which implies an action. It then has this connecting word for, so we're confused whether it's sustainable systems or the affordable shelter and services for the poor. My thoughts are that it would be unlikely that our development objective would be the development of systems. And perhaps the provision of affordable shelter and services for the poor is somewhat of a higher order, perhaps at the goal level. Is there a missing link between the sustainable systems and the affordable shelter and services for the poor? Perhaps this is where the purpose statement really lies. Here is a third purpose statement for your thoughts. This comes from the project we saw before in China, a wastewater management project. Discuss this and come up with your ideas on it. My thoughts on this one are that firstly we should have a single succinct statement rather than two statements. The first bullet point there is quite good. This does seem to represent an end result we would expect to achieve by the completion of the project. Perhaps rather than increased coverage, I would prefer to see mention of households being served. The second bullet point of institutional strengthening is not appropriate generally at the purpose level. Institutional strengthening is a means to an end rather than an end in itself. We would strengthen an institution in order to see better quality service provision. So therefore, I would not like to see it included at the purpose level in most cases.